Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and in this video we're going to answer a reader question, which is how to get my kid to stop rising and for him to utilize his legs more during batting. Now, this is a question that comes either through a form or survey or email, or even from my local lessons. The coaches out there in the high schools tend to try and meddle a little bit, and it's all about the legs, and you need to use your legs more. Well, in this video I want to talk about, well, what does that mean? What is the function of the legs? Now, a couple things. One is they help to adjust to pitch height. So if you're looking at hitters like Cody Bellinger of the Dodgers, Jock Peterson of the Dodgers, Corey Seager, looking at Anthony Rizzo of the Cubs, or some of the past players like Adrian Beltre or Dustin Pedroia, when the pitch is down in the zone, you tend to see them bend their front knee to go down and get it. And they tend to, on those pitches, those lower in the zone pitches, not to lock out their front knee. And I've seen these same hitters, Rizzo, Bellinger, I've seen them with a bent front knee hit balls 440 to 460 feet. So this raises a question of, if you want a hitter to use their legs more often because you think it has to do with power, well, that is just not true. That's not what we're seeing. So adjusting to pitch height, and those hitters being examples, you can watch them. The distance between the feet, this is a big one that we can use the legs or utilize the legs in allowing hitters to hit more line drives. The problem happens when, say, if we are teaching our hitters to skip their back foot, that they end up skipping their feet too close together, or it's just they don't stride that much and they don't skip at all, and so their feet tend to be closer together. And what we want, and what you see with the top, you can put up top 50, top 100 hitters in the big leagues, and you're going to see distance between their feet. So whether that is a longer stride and their front foot gets away from their back foot, whether they don't skip but they don't stride as much, but you still see that wideness of their feet. You see them scissor, you see different things like that, but what they all have in common, all the top hitters in the big leagues, is they have distance between their feet. When the feet come close together, it makes the hitter taller, which this reader is asking how to keep the hitter from to stop rising. So the taller the hitter gets, the more in the ground the ball is going to get hit. And if the hitter knows better and they try and get the ball in the air, even though they have narrow feet during their turn, then they're going to do something unnatural with their hands to try and get under it, which we don't want them to do either, because that is going to cause uppercuts. It's going to cause some inconsistencies in their swings. So I just mentioned that hitters don't have to lock their front knee out when you think about ground reaction forces. And ground reaction forces do play a role. I'm not taking away from ground reaction forces and saying, oh, well, the legs don't do anything in the swing. No, they do something. It's about a 20 to 30% increase in power by using the legs. Most of that, though, is in the pelvis, and in the rest of the spinal engine. I tell my hitters that the spinal engine, their combination of your shoulders and how you use them, neck, shoulders, and pelvis, accounts for about 70 to 80% of the power. That gets you to the wall, gets the ball to the wall. The legs help get you over the wall. So you do need the legs, and it's like what Dr. Serge Grakovetsky, the author of The Spinal Engine, said. He said that locomotion, that arms and legs aren't necessary for locomotion, they're an enhancement. They help enhance. So we're not taking away from the legs and the use of the legs and how they can benefit the swing. It's just that they're an enhancement. The taller the player is, the longer the levers, the more the force multiplier at the end of that lever. So guys like Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are going to have longer levers. If they lengthen those levers out at impact, when we're talking, let's say, the front arm, they're going to hit the ball pound for pound. Apples to apples swings, Jose Altuve with the locked out front arm. It's just because the bigger, longer limbs enhance more. They're more of a force multiplier. Buying time. So the lower half, the legs, can help buy time. Jamie Savalos, in his book Positional Hitting, way back, I think it was in the early 2000s or mid to late 2000s, he talked about this idea of a cushion. So you'll see hitters, especially if they're looking fastball and they see a curveball or changeup, you'll see them actually bend or sink or cushion into their knees. They use their knees by bending them to buy them a little bit of time to get on time a lot better. The other thing we want to do is we want to buy time is keep the back foot sideways. So we talk about this idea of directional force. Matt Noakes, he says that to hit a ball 400 feet, it takes 8,000 pounds per square inch of force in one direction. Now, in hitting, we have, in both baseball and softball, we have 90 degrees to work with. So we don't, outside of that 90, the other 270 degrees is foul territory. It doesn't do a hitter any good or a team any good to play in that 270 degrees outside of fair territory. So we have to stay between the 90s. We have to stay between the lines in 90 degrees. If you think about a bowler, and a bowler, every single professional bowler out there scissors the legs. And I'm not saying that all hitters have to scissor. I give my hitters that option if they want to scissor their legs. But if you think about bowlers, they bowl between about a 2-foot lane. I don't know if that's correct or not, but it's somewhere 2 feet lane, right? They also put a spin on the ball. So if they over-rotated their lower half, not keeping their back foot sideways, or keeping their under-rotating their pelvis, then what you would see is that ball bouncing into lanes outside. If you scissor your legs, try and open your hips up more, and it's almost impossible. So you want to make sure that we're creating directional force, and that's another thing that the legs do. They help us stay between that 90 degrees and use all 90 degrees effectively. And that comes in handy at the higher levels when hitting to the opposite field is a lot more important. And when we see shifts, most of the time that hitter isn't very good about going the other way, and you can see the hitters that do go the other way very well. Their batting averages seem to be higher. So how do we utilize the legs in the swing? Now again, if it's power you want, this isn't the place to go. You want to look at the catapult loading system and using the spinal engine if you want a majority of power, 70-80% of the power. So you want to look at getting shorter and staying shorter. You see most great hitters, when you draw a line over their head before they stride, by the time they get to the stride landing, you're going to see a distance between where they started and where their head is now. So you're going to see this getting shorter, we call it. And then as they swing, it's almost like that bottom rung that you create at landing, they tend to stay under that line. So what we do is we can take a PVC pipe. We can put it at the start of the hitter's swing before they even stride. We can put it maybe at their nose or their chin, and we can have them practice getting the top of their head under that PVC pipe. And then as they swing, stay under that PVC pipe. I've also had my hitters get next to a piece of furniture that's about the same height and have them stride and get their head to where now they're under the top of that, say, armoire or dresser or whatever, or picture frame, could be anything around the house. And then when they swing, they do some slow motion swings and they stay under that line. That's a way to get shorter, stay shorter. It's okay to bend the knee. I also give my hitters, we don't really practice this, but I tell them it's okay to bend the knee if the pitch is down in the zone. Also, working distance between the feet, you can either get them to stride longer or you can cut down on their skip. We usually will try to manipulate one of those two things or both things to get that distance between the feet so that it allows them to hit more line drives, or at least control their line drives. And then keeping their back foot sideways, you can use the Velo Pro. They use it in pitching a lot, but in hitting we use the Velo Pro, and we tell the hitter to make sure that they keep their back foot, their back heel on the ground as they swing, almost like you would see with the George Springer or Altuve or Mike Trout. Any of those kind of hitters, or in softball, Sierra Romero, they keep their back heel on the ground and it's turned sideways so that they stay sideways, and they do a better job of staying between those 90 degrees. One last thing on that is the scissoring helps with that as well. So that's something that you can play around with and let your hitters experiment with. Hope this answered the question of how to get my kid to stop rising and for him to utilize his legs more during the swing. Make sure that we're swinging smarter by moving better. And before I let you go,
the Hitting Performance Lab wants to know, did you know repeatable hitting power does not start in the hips? Have you heard the expressions, load and explode the hips? Power comes from the hips. Well, we created a free video revealing the results of a scientific study that will show you how we added 48 feet of batted ball distance instantly. And it's not all about the hips. Click here now to get the video while it's still free.